Hello, my fellow hemp nuts. Are you?
Oh.
Hello, my fellow hemp nuts. Are you ready for the cannabis bonanza?
Yes, we are. We're a little slow today.
Welcome to the new Hemp Time Show, recorded at Gotham Studio, the sweetest smelling podcast studio in the world. Today's episode is partially powered by McSorley's Chili Dogs, the McSorley's Ale House, the oldest ale house in the United States. We'd also like to give a shout out to members of the Five and Dime who craft our old fashions, Erica, Dennis, and Caitlin.
Yes,
What's
best
up?
old fashions ever, unless you drink too many, then it's not good.
Yeah, it gets old
Then it's
fashioned
bad.
quickly.
We'd also like to thank our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the
Yes.
show and making it possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As usual on the show, I am Jehan Marcoux, your resident cannabis scientist.
Dr. J.
Dr. J.
In the
Dr.
building.
J. In the building.
We're also joined by the unapologetic farmer, Randy Cameron Jr.
Yep.
Yep.
And here with our check-in is our clinical social worker, Jan Roberts.
Hi, guys. It's me. I am guess what? About a week and a half away from my defense for my doctorate.
Mm-mm.
So really kind of excited about that. In about
Doc
10
Jan is
days,
coming.
The next episode we have, you'll actually get to refer to me as Doc Jan. So, woo!
I already
Anyhow.
call you Doc Jan.
I know you do. But anyway, so obviously Greer's not here today. He must have had very important business, and we are excited for Greer and that he must have something very important.
Well, he's going to be in
going
Vegas
on.
next week.
Yes, he will. And we're
He must
not
be
going to
training.
have, and we're
Yep.
not going to have our show taped next week. So we're going to take a little spring break ourselves. But I just wanted to kind of check in because we've started this little process of this new Hemp Times, covering the global cannabis bonanza. And I wanted to see how my compadres were doing this week because I love you guys. And Wednesdays are like the highlight of my week. And so I just like to see what's going on. I haven't seen you in a week,
Yeah.
Randy. How are
Busy,
you?
busy as usual.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Sprout business.
Yeah.
So shout out, and I hope she's watching. Grace Shoemaker is one of the Brooklyn Sprout board members,
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
she owned 48 acres of property undeveloped in Walsenburg, Colorado.
No way.
Yep. And now Brooklyn Sprout owns 30 along with Grace.
Are you
Grace
serious?
sure does.
So
And it will-
Brooklyn Sprouts has 30 acres.
30 acres in Walsenburg,
Where's
Colorado. It's between Pueblo and Cold Springs, I believe.
that?
No. It's going to be a development that we're envisioning. We already incorporated the name. It'll be called Afia Enterprise,
Yeah.
a wellness center where folks can go for treatment and the latest on what people are doing.
Yeah, trying to kind of like get health and
Yep.
feeling healthier
Yep.
and well and all
Yep.
that. I have a question. So this area that
Mhm.
you're developing, is it strictly for the wellness center or is there going to be cultivation?
So there'll be property used half for cultivation,
Mhm.
which will have a major facility there, science side, grow side,
Mm.
research side. And then we'll have on the other side of the property, and it's really beautiful from what I understand. I haven't had a chance to go out, so I'm
Right.
planning on going next month. We want to do a resort and treatment spa,
Yeah.
wellness, a place where all the top folks in the industry can come and speak, where patients can come and get hope and information.
Wow. So this is, you're talking about really kind of having Brooklyn Sprouts take it to another level.
Yep.
So not only are you focusing kind of on social justice and really trying to make right within your own community, you're
Amen.
also now looking at making this kind of something that's provided for anyone in the U.S. or elsewhere
Exactly.
to come to. That is so
Exactly.
cool. That's so cool. How does it feel to kind of do that?
Well, it's at least when you're always in development,
Yeah.
at least when you have a big goal to shoot for,
Yeah.
it's like a moon landing.
Yeah.
It makes it worthwhile.
Does it?
So
Boy, you're so calm as you're sitting here telling me this fucking awesome stuff.
Like,
I
we
would be,
landed
like,
on the
jumping
moon. No
up.
big deal.
Yeah, no, that is so awesome
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I love hearing my
Well,
friends.
it's us too.
Yeah,
So,
I know, but I
you
mean, I
know.
love hearing that our friends are making such a difference in this world, you know. But
Oh,
anyway, well, I'm sorry.
How is it us? We just sent you headshots. You did all the heavy lifting.
You got the PhD in front of you. Hey,
Well, no,
no,
I
we're,
mean,
we're
I think
family, and
we're
we're gonna
family,
do something.
and we're
you know,
gonna
when
do
you
some
join
great stuff.
together like this, it's not
We-
by mistake.
Yeah, so for
It
those
ain't.
of you who are listening, you have to understand that a few months ago, it was just me and Jahan who knew. Well, I've known Greer for a while, so it's taken us several months, but we've kind of developed our little tribe of New Hemp Times people that we just really enjoy each other's company and kind of learning from each other and growing, and we feel so fortunate to be able to do this podcast for you all. But so enough about you, Randy. Now I get to shift it to Jahan. What is up with you, Mister
Jay,
Dr. J?
Nothing much.
Yeah. What
Uh,
do you mean?
I guess the most exciting thing, it's hard to top the 30 acre story. It's exciting and its implications for Brooklyn Sprout Social Enterprises too.
Yeah.
But what I most enjoyed, I think, from this last week is I got to go see a special showing of some anime in New York.
Did you?
There's a studio. They put out a lot of really cool anime, like Nausicaa Valley of the Wind is a famous one. And they had a showing they're doing every month, just 2 days in different theaters. And so wife and I went to go see Oko's Inn on Monday night.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was
Oko's
cool.
in.
Yeah, it's cool. It's about friendly spirits that haunt an inn, and
Yep.
she's
Yeah.
like trying to work with them to take over the inn. It was cute story. It was
Oh.
good, but it was cool because most of the time we're watching these bootleg versions on like YouTube.
Right.
So to see like a crisp, clear, well dubbed
big screen.
version was really cool.
Was
Oh,
it big
that's
screen?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I have to say, I'm just going to check in here because I had the absolute best weekend. I had 3 girlfriends come up to visit me from Arden, Delaware, and we celebrated 420. We celebrated the holiday weekend was what we called it. And it was really fun. It was fun. I was telling this to Jahan earlier. It felt like I was starting to celebrate a new holiday, like with certain traditions. And so we went to we we woke up, we just started
Was
the
it
day.
just you guys, or are you running into folks around the city who are also celebrating?
No, well, several people. I wore my favorite Stigma and Style T-shirt that says Stoner across the front,
There
just
it is.
because for me, I think I love to kind of challenge people's the stigma that they have related to cannabis users, and so I wear that. You know, obviously, I'm a middle-aged woman, and you know, I don't think that they would think I was a stoner, but I'm. Maybe I am. Who knew? What the hell does
We'd
stoner
have to
mean?
define it
Anyway,
first. So
yeah.
walk us through 420 Eve. What are you guys
So
doing?
420
You actually hit
Eve.
something important, but we'll get back to
Okay.
that. No, you did.
Well, 420 Eve, we just went around the city and drank considerably and munched everywhere. But we're all telling everyone happy 420 Eve and celebrating it with people at restaurants, bars, you know, we were just having a blast. And then when we woke up 420, we enjoyed ourselves, ate a lot of food, came back, watched some old Steve Martin on like the 70s Saturday Night Lives reruns because we were just really high. And so we wanted to watch it. And then we went to a musical called 420 the Musical here in the Village.
Nice.
And it was so much fun. It was really funny. At 420, they stopped and said, yeah! And everyone, the crowd realized, oh shit, it was 420. We're all like screaming, and just, they had free munchies there for you. So Doritos and fruit snacks and waters. It was we had a great time. And then that night we just celebrated. We have traditions now. So next 420 on 2020, we're going to celebrate again, we decided.
Oh, it'll be big next year.
Yeah. It's going to be really big if we have anything to say about it. But anyway, I'm doing great. Finally kind of chilled out and ready to get that doctorate, and that's it. But man,
2 weeks to go.
I know,
Man.
Dr. Jam. Anywho,
Nice.
So welcome. And guess what? You guys are going to be mentioned, you know, when I do my presentation about what I've been working on. So
We get acknowledged.
There's going to be a
Shout out.
picture of you all, and I hope you come to the defense. I don't know if you will or not. I think Greer's
is
out
big.
of town, but anyway. Anywho, so go ahead, Mr.
All
or
right.
Dr. Marcoux.
Thank you so much for the check-in. Soon
And wait,
to be Dr.
by the way,
Roberts.
Elise Kidd, thank you for listening to us. And Amanda, so glad to have you back and so
Hey.
glad you're live in Boston.
Boston.
Anywho.
Okay. Thanks for the check-in. We'll move on to our word of the day. Then we'll talk about our research focus, which is patenting of cannabis plants. What's it mean?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Corporations swooping in to
geez.
patent the
Here
cannabis
we
plant.
go.
We'll talk about a little bit of the history of that. Then we'll move into our CannaBusting, talk about findings in fiction. And then we'll go into our new segment, Listener Call and A. We have a couple people lined up who are waiting to get on the phone and ask our group some questions about cannabis. If you're interested in calling into the show and asking us a question or sharing your cannabis story, hit us up on Facebook or
Yep.
social media and let us know.
And we can give you our number. We'll make it happen.
Excellent. So today, sticking with the theme for the last couple weeks of ancient words for cannabis, I'm going to change this up soon, but I found so many cool ancient words, and this is another Sanskrit and Hindi word for cannabis, virapattra, which means
Ooh.
leaf of heroes.
Ooh. Leaf of
Yeah.
heroes.
Patra.
Virapattra. Yeah.
Did you see what our social media guru did? What she created on our New Hemp Times Facebook
Yeah.
page?
There's
She-
a little soldier vagabond, like it looks like a tarot card.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
holding-
show me
Here, I'll
that.
show it to you. Is that cool or what?
Oh.
And
Uh,
it's holding.
Wait,
a
she
pot-
did that?
Yeah.
Oh, I
It has
thought that
new-
was like a tarot card or something.
I
from-
know.
Like
Whoops.
a real.
Whoops, wrong picture.
Yeah, it looks like a real
Oh,
but
tarot
it is.
card.
Yeah.
But it has New Hemp Times on it. It has the guy holding a pot leaf, and it has the name of Virapattra, Leaf of Heroes, and it looks just like a tarot card. She's awesome,
Yeah,
She's awesome.
Good
and she's listening to us in Spain.
Nice.
in Spain.
So it's not known entirely where this particular name came from. People speculate that because of the many famous people at the time are using cannabis, like Shiva,
Yep.
and other people. who-
Indian gods.
Yeah, using cannabis. It was thought that it was also used to treat wounds in the battlefield too. So it could have come from a variety of things. It was definitely present where people of high social standing or high spirituality were around at the time. But it's not leaf of evil people, you know. Like I found in alcohol comes from a term al ghul, which literally means to steal your soul or to like
Yes.
just
Really?
disintegrate your soul.
Al
Kinda
Ghul.
does.
That's why they're called spirits, right?
There it is.
Wow.
So you know you don't find too many words like that for cannabis.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Oh
there
my
you go.
god. Well, you know, it kind of
Totally.
does.
Yep.
It makes people
Yep.
not nice to be around.
I saw. yeah.
you
I saw
know,
your-
maybe the first part of the drink, but by the end
That-
of the
yeah.
night,
Yeah.
yeah, I would much rather
Yeah.
be around someone who's just chilling out and imbibing instead
Exactly.
of drinking. Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Interesting. So, speaking of heroes, there's a group I want to talk about called the Open Cannabis Project. And this group was established by industry leaders. And we're going to move into our high science here. We're talking about cannabis patents, but a veritable virapattra is the Open Cannabis Project, which is preserving genetic diversity of cannabis by creating open source cannabis genetics and plants, by getting them out there so they're much more difficult to patent. So one of the articles we're talking about today and other stuff is what happens if corporations patent cannabis genetics, which is an article that came out in Big Spud magazine. Very well written piece.
Yeah.
And, you know, generally it was thought for the longest time you couldn't patent things, but in 1981, the United States Patent and Trademark Office began issuing patents for natural plants and other things. Perhaps the most famous case example of this was General Electric had a scientist who developed a bacteria that could break down crude oil.
Yep.
It was rejected at first, saying you can't patent something that could occur naturally.
Right.
They're like, actually, we did all this weird stuff to it. And then they basically allowed them to patent it.
Didn't they have a commercial on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They did, if I'm not mistaken. I remember
And-
seeing it.
And so basically patents are like four things are important, right? Whether or not it can actually be patented under the law, proof that it is a new concept, is truly new, that it is useful, and it's non-obvious. So you have those four kind of categories. And so patents are always around cannabis bring up the question as well, how can you patent something that's federally illegal? How enforceable
Mhm.
would that be? I think the idea would be right now not so enforceable. If you're like, hey, you have I have a patent on that illicit narcotic that you're cultivating.
Right.
That's my brand of federally illegal narcotics.
Right.
I'm gonna take you to federal court over this.
Not
Me
gonna
and a
happen.
friend on my crack recipe.
Put it on Wikipedia.
You know,
Wait, that wasn't Clarence again, was it?
it was his cousin. Clarence cleaned up.
Clarence
He gave
cleaned.
up the fight.
That's why he's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
God.
wait.
No one's gonna understand our joke behind that. Oh yeah,
Go to episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
you'll get it. Yeah.
You'll get it.
Well, it's not
Ugh.
it's that there are good examples of this. This is a hops industry,
And let's
right?
give one. All right.
There are the closest, like oftentimes in the
Uh-huh.
lab when I haven't been able to get permissions and all the documentations to use cannabis, we use hops. So
Really?
we're like, we'll use hops in this case too. So there's a variety of hops called lemon haze that
Really?
is patented. Yes, because it has a lemony scent.
Uh-huh.
But in order for the guy who's the former president of the Hops Industry Association, who has patents on a couple of hops varieties, it took him 8 years of cultivating and harvesting to establish that variety. So you had to know what its yields were, what its chemical profile was,
Mhm.
was it stable?
Mhm.
So there were all these other factors in order for him to really be able to enforce and control that that product, right? Because he had
Right.
inbred it and bred it and put under conditions. So if it's something that could only exist because of the way you cultivate it,
Yep.
that could be a way to patent a plant product, right? Because
Right.
it's not going to exist in the wild or naturally occur. It's going to
Right.
occur under these conditions.
So
But-
we patent hybrid plants that we come up with in a lab.
Right. Various
Um,
types of apples.
There's types of apples. There's types of there's
So
a few
isn't
different.
like an
there's-
apricot plum that someone grafted together. I mean,
Yep.
there's like crazy things.
Yeah,
that-
they're now little kind of tomatoes.
oh,
These
that's
little
a great point.
mini
I didn't know those are grafted.
yeah.
So like
Really?
My issue is this. There's societies that's been doing this a long time ago,
Mhm.
in some form or some way. Whether you're cloning or crossing stuff that they've done. A new company comes up, gets a patent cleared, and as the industry grows, suppose somebody from the Tonka Islands is like,
Mhm.
we've been doing this forever, and now
And now you own
That's-
it.
now you own it, and
That is such a great point. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a great parallel to this article,
okay,
which talks about the Vice show strain hunters. And they actually went around the world to go into places that had landlocked varieties of cannabis, just like you're talking about Tribe Anywhere.
Yep.
And they're probably growing hemp
Yep.
somewhere.
yep,
But that's what people are going after. And someone actually died on the show, unfortunately,
Yep.
Oh,
from
my.
malaria. Going after they had found the variety of plants they were looking for because of war, because of landlocked issues,
Yeah.
trade issues, isolation issues. They had found this undisturbed genetic pool of cannabis that the local people have been tending to for probably centuries,
yes,
developing it.
yes.
And then they
I
just
saw the episode. It blew
Oh.
my mind.
but yeah, but
It was bad.
But they went
got-
back to organize and help pass to try and like legalize the cannabis industry there too. But
Right.
unfortunately, but it brings to that question like, okay, so the pharmaceutical industry has been doing this for a long time. That's how they got a lot of Percocet and a lot of opioids come from the poppy plant and are
Right.
synthesized and things like
Right.
that. That's where they're discovered. I think half of all, over 40% of our drugs come from natural products.
Sure.
So I mean, it's not an uncommon practice. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's just
But imagine if someone had patented the opioid plant or the poppy. You know what I mean? Like, then you couldn't have had that creativity of creating other medicines, right?
I would say that I wonder if I know that there is a patent on producing opioids in yeast. There's just like there
Really?
is for cannabis.
Patents don't prevent black markets from
That's true.
existing or doing what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
So I guess
They'll
if
still-
cannabis stays in the black market,
which it most likely, always will,
Will.
because most of the, I think one of the angles is this: the entrepreneurs and regular users and the regular Joe Schmoes that's been the steady, dedicated users slash
Mhm.
customers slash supporters since the 70s
Mhm.
who don't have the capital, have the idea, or maybe have been doing it in some form, can't compete against a company that says, well, we've been in alcohol for
Right.
80 years. We want to take advantage of this.
They know how to.
They-
It's like
they've
they're a
got-
big machine.
They're a
They
big
know what to
machine.
do.
They've got the lawyers. They can hit the ground,
And they can also, they have the power that
and they have the power.
these startups don't have.
Exactly.
That's just, it goes back to the kind of concern that I have with this industry is that we're just getting, but I understand it too. This is where I'm struggling,
Yeah.
is that I understand the need for all
Yep.
of these things, but it just makes me sad that we have to have that, because
Yeah.
then we're cutting out a whole part of this culture. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's like, what is that balance between having corporate resources, but also really staying true to what the whole use, what the plant's about?
Like
Does that make sense?
fostering innovation,
Right.
And patenting is
Right.
often seen as an enemy of innovation. It can be good,
Yeah.
but if you lock up a plant, like in a case example, sour diesel is a patented variety of cannabis, allegedly owned by a company called Biotech LLC.
Right.
So if you have to buy, like Monsanto products, buy their seeds, you can't clone, graft, or breed with it. That narrows R&D. So if it has a
Even
trait,
though it didn't prevent any,
Yeah.
when, New York sour
But hold
diesel,
on, though.
Yeah.
No,
us-
but let me ask that then. So
Uh-huh.
then the idea is that these big companies like Monsanto will be buying all of
they
this.
are. That's
are
that's what
already.
they're.
But I think that what is enforceable and how these initial patents are going to affect the industry remains to be seen. I hold out that very few people will be able to demonstrate that they have a stable variety of cannabis, because most people, most cultivators are already buying clones from a third
Exactly.
party, or they got the mother tree and they're making clones.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of already controlled in a way where people are not engaging in R&D, not engaging in breeding, and are relying on third parties or partners to provide those genetics.
That's how it works. We have co-op shares. You guys, you buy feminized seed that is a registered, certified strain, and you grow that female, and you sell your clones and clippings.
Yeah. And so we see parts of this, but I guess, and what we're concerned about is minimizing access. But even without patents, this is what this has always been a concern, is the preservation of unique varieties of this plant. And even back in the days before the Cole Memo and the CJS Amendment, which allows the industry to function without federal interference, for the most part, there were raids all the time, and varieties of cannabis that people were breeding would just disappear.
Destroyed.
And you'd go to, patients would go to a particular dispensary because they were the only ones that have this variety. But the risk was, if they ever got raided, there went the entire genetics library, and people would urge people to, like, hey, keep one of my plants here in case something happens, and I'll keep your. But there was so much distrust, I think, in the industry that, and that's why I like this open cannabis project idea. That's also being run by a guy named John Gilmore, who was also about he had I think it was like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, something like that. But they put up open source code to keep it out of from being patented, so we could have access to all sorts of coding. So now his thing is open source cannabis genomics or genetics, so that they can't be patented and anyone can grow and use these varieties. Because the concern is that, let's say you have some old sour diesel seeds and cannabis becomes legalized and you're allowed to grow 3 plants. You could grow 3 plants and then you'll become like that Monsanto farmer.
That's right.
You have to leave the plants, for them to come pick up because you can't grow them and you could get sued. I mean, those are some of the overreaching concerns, is that they could just literally shut down anyone who's using something derived from that product.
Right. Well, what's the opposite? Just to ask.
The opposite
if they're outlawed.
I guess if patents are controlled, you don't see a lot of these patents, or you see certain types. You could see a lot more innovation and development of products and these varieties. So if someone has, say, an idea, I'm just gonna try and make something up. Say you have like, I want to create the, this rare cannabinoid I found. I want to grow a plant that produces it, and I have a special method to do it, and it's going to be extracted this way. And you have this kind of seed to product approach. You could then, that it's more effective to raise money to make that dream come true.
Right.
And so I think that there are some good ways to use patents to secure, because it just gives you 20 years to use your idea, the novel thing you're trying to do, so that like a big company can't come in and do it. Like, Monsanto spends like $3 million a day on research.
That's right.
Little guys
Unreal.
Can't compete.
want to
Yeah.
protect your idea.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea for a cannabis product or plant or service or something, you want to protect that so that Monsanto or another company can't come in and say, oh, your annual budget's $3 million. That's what we spend in a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Like kaboom, so they
Yeah.
at least you'd get licensing fees for someone using the idea or innovation you found
Mhm.
or invention you
Mhm.
made,
Mhm.
or yeah,
Well,
that
I
would
think that's fair.
and that's the trade-off.
Enough
But
fa-
yeah.
yeah.
But you don't want to stifle it, because imagine if the first person who like came up with an apple splice, like patented all apple varieties, there'd be
Oh
like no
my.
Granny Smith, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. And that's what concerns me the most about it all.
Right.
Is that I get it, I understand it, but I don't like it, if that makes
Yeah.
It's like that's the world we're living in right now. And I can't believe that this is what how cannabis is these days. It's become like, and even I'm guilty of it. Like, I won't have a conversation unless we have NDAs in place, and everyone's
Well,
trying to protect themselves. And it feels
Because
like
you have to now.
feels like the Wild West.
Yeah.
It really
is the Wild
it is
West.
the Wild West.
It totally is.
I've never been in an industry where people are actually rewarded for risk-taking behavior. And I've never met so many groups of brilliant people, but are risk takers,
Right.
and are, just so much more liberal in that kind of perspective in a business. And it's a fascinating kind of like sociological observation
Yep.
when you go to these conferences and you meet who the big players are,
Right.
and you really kind of get to learn more about the industry.
Yeah.
It's been, well, again, this is how I met Dr. J.
Yep. Hey. Like minds.
Right. And this is how I met you, Randy.
Yep. And like experiences.
Yeah. And it's fascinating what's brought people to this industry. You know what I mean? Like, I know I got into this industry because of my own personal experience with cannabis and how it helped neuralgia pain for me when I had shingles. And everyone, for some reason, we all have this kind of beautiful motivation that brought us here.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does.
And it's kind of, it's a very unique industry in that. And it's, I just feel so fortunate sometimes to work in it.
It is. I've also noticed there's a lot of folks, I guess, new businessmen that aren't traditionalists like we are,
Right.
but see the either financial benefit
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
and they're kind of playing both sides. They're still doing what they do, and they're,
Yeah.
you can only front so much that this is your total commitment and what
Yeah.
you do all day, every day to grow this business.
Yep.
And I found, you do have people that see it as a high-end business thing, and they want to kind of play it as one of their pieces in their portfolio.
Yep.
As opposed to us who are traditionalists who
Yep.
have.
Yeah. I also kind of, one of the things I think about is like how we do business in this field, because I know for us, we've made some conscious decisions on the types of companies we wanted to work for
Right.
or work with.
Right.
And for us, it's about making sure that we're aligning ourselves with people who philosophically
Yep.
believe that cannabis is not just a product or a revenue stream, but also has an ability to kind of change the way we think about things.
That's
and
right.
change the way how we function.
That's right.
And that to me is just something that I'm hoping that this industry will do a lot more of. And I do see that effort.
Well, I think we're in position to shape it, and we got
Yeah.
and we have to put it on
Yeah.
ourselves to do that.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
curious, like, if people are listening, because I'm watching, we have actually several viewers today who are kind of piping, or who are watching, and I'm curious if they have any kind of thoughts or observations too. So if you're listening to us, type it up and we can kind of talk about it on the air as well. Anyway.
Excellent. Well, I think this is going to be an ongoing discussion, the patenting of cannabis plants, the application of technology derived from them. But I think it's time to move on to our next segment, because
Cool.
of course we all want to get to the listener Q&A. But
Of course we do.
first it's time for me to grill you guys over
Oh,
what
gosh.
you've learned this
boy.
week about cannabis.
Wait, is it what we learned or what we have to make sure that you're not tricking us
Yeah, what
about?
we don't know.
Yeah.
A little bit of both, So, when you hear strange things about marijuana, who are you going to call?
CannaBusters.
All right.
God, that's so,
So-
nerdy, but it's
So
cute.
our first CannaBusting job is a headline, and I want you guys to tell me if this is a real finding, is this a real story, or is this just a fiction? So our first headline is Cannabots. Are the robots coming for your weed? Is this a
Ooh.
true headline, a true story that was reaching national proportions about
Cannabot.
robots coming for your weed? Is a headline. Cannabots. Are the
Wait.
robots coming for
Are
your
they
weed?
coming for it or delivering it?
Yeah. Well, now that's
This
you got something with that one.
Yeah.
but The delivery.
real or imagined, there are concerns that cannabis employees will disappear and be replaced by drones in the cultivation warehouse, or perhaps for delivery services.
Oh, definitely. Now it's a real article.
Oh.
If you just gave away the body of the article,
I
that's
could have
real.
made it up.
I say you made it up.
I'm saying it's real.
It's real. Cannabots. Are the robots coming for your weed? This is a true story from the Canna Law blog. Indeed, it is a true story that because of issues with, say, law enforcement, drug testing, and other regulations, it might be cheaper and simpler just to have robots fly around the
Oh,
cultivation room.
Shoot me now.
The first time one of those gets tangled in netting or a plant, it's
Right.
over. Yeah.
All the buds are chopped down. What the? Dude,
Yeah, we're not talking about the
They're not
walking Honda
flowering.
robot. We're talking about the spinny
Yeah.
drones. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. No, I kind of prefer. Sorry, damn it. I was preferring the old like robots. Hello.
Like
Sorry.
I've got your nickel bag.
I've got your nickel.
yeah.
Does not compute.
Does not
compute.
C3PO. This isn't what I ordered.
Can you imagine?
Give me my money now.
Imagine him showing up at Snoop's house.
People will be ordering the robot just to mess with it.
I know. Just to mess with it.
I love it. I want to see what happens if the person shortchanges the robot.
Right.
I don't want to be there.
It's busted.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
We've even got Miles over there laughing at
Well.
Oh, this is our job, people.
Okay. All right. Our next story. Is this a true story or not? Well, as we all know, the holiday of cannabis was Saturday, April 20th.
Yes.
And is this a true story or not? The largest cannabis delivery company website crashed on April 20th from too much demand, from too much traffic. Is
I
this
say
a true
yes.
story?
True.
Cannabis delivery company website crashes on April 20th.
True.
This is indeed true. According to Bloomberg.com News, Ease's website crashed on 4/20. This is a marijuana delivery service available in California and other states where you can
Okay.
go online, put in orders,
Yep.
and they deliver within, state regulation. They won't meet you at McDonald's or something like that. But
And there's a quantity limit,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
but it crashed.
All they needed were more robots.
That's it.
That was actually an
Or
issue.
drones.
There was an issue when I lived in Philly. There was a guy who was caught selling weed with a drone, and
Really?
the way they caught him was people were chasing the drone.
Throwing rocks at that. You hit it, knock it down. Well, they also busted in the penitentiary guys in the freaking parking lot flying his drone over the wall of the penitentiary, dropping narcotics on the yard. and then sneaking it
It's
out.
like the pinata of
Yeah.
narcotics.
Oh,
And then
my God.
I swear, another story I heard is they got squirrels packing that'll
No.
climb the walls. Yep.
How do they
Wait,
train the
did they-
I have
squirrels?
no
Wait.
idea. They put,
The-
I don't even think they put it in. I think
Like
they
a
Okay,
little
got
okay,
a backpack.
oh my
or a
God,
bag
I'm
on the
totally
squirrel's
like
back.
imagining that they're.
Oh,
Oh,
they're
what the fuck am I thinking? My
They're-
little squirrel.
Somehow that's less
Roasting
than
a
Grass?
squirrel.
it's less
going up
suspicious than a pigeon.
Yeah. Birds all coming to one
Oh my
cell.
God! Just imagine that one.
That Birdman of Alcatraz makes so much
Exactly.
more sense now.
It does.
The Birdman of Alcatraz.
Right. He's flipping birds, all right.
God,
Jeez Louise.
we're getting nutty today already.
All right, all right. All right, is this our next headline? You guys are doing good so far.
Oh,
So our next news one, we got a couple of news ones and then a couple of science ones. So our next news one, is this true or not?
I don't.
Mitch McConnell said hemp could replace tobacco and argued that's why voters should re-elect him.
Yes, true.
Is this a true story? Mitch
True.
McConnell said hemp could replace tobacco and that's why voters should re-elect him because he's all about growing that hemp.
Oh, turtle.
I'm not up on that.
Turtle.
Gonna
turtle.
abstain?
I'm going to abstain. I'll say false, but I didn't know.
I will say true
So
because he's
this-
from Kentucky.
And this is a
shit.
story from
That's
Kentucky, and
right.
this is true.
That's right.
Mitch McConnell is thinking hemp could
He's-
replace tobacco as
So
a
he's
cultural
been-
crop.
He was behind the farm bill.
Yep.
He
he's
was
one-
He
really, yeah, because it was Kentucky. You know, a lot of Kentucky hemp farmers out there, and
Mm.
Kentucky is so financially depressed, you know, and having financial problems that was a great cash crop. So that's as much as I can't stand that man.
Well,
yeah.
He did that.
Well, he said at a recent rally, "How does my job as majority leader help you? Help Kentucky? At the top of the list, I would put hemp, because that is one of the reasons he says he should be elected is because of his role in helping to pass the farm bill and making sure hemp will be being cultivated
Wow.
sometime soon." I think there was a state, I don't know if it's not Kentucky, but another state is doing hemp licensing. They went from like 200 licenses they gave out last year, and this year it looks like they're going to give out 2,600 licenses.
Holy cow!
So it's really
mm.
Are they in danger of kind of doing what Oregon did, where they had too many licenses handed out? And
oh, really?
there's an issue with that. There's also an issue of how you're going to have enough inspectors to go to all these places
Right.
to ensure that they're producing safe products. You know, but it also brings into mind if you don't just have 5 licenses for millions of people living in a state, but you have as many licenses as the market will support,
Right.
and you let those economics play itself out, you might soon learn what the real cost of producing these products are. But again, we get into regulatory issues, and simple one is if I grow 5 tomato plants in my backyard, it's really easy to make sure that they're healthy and happy. And
Right.
but if I have
Right.
1,000 and I'm by
Whole
myself,
different business. And that's what you're hitting on. You're talking about farms that probably are struggling to maintain whatever crops they're doing.
Yep.
And the cost effectiveness of switching over to hemp is a lot smarter.
yeah, they're like, I don't have to water
I don't
this.
have to water this. I mean, right. It's like get seeds at once. It does its thing, you know. Let the
Yeah.
crop
Yeah.
grow. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
working the damn thing. You don't have to use a tractor anymore.
Man,
No,
This
that is
is-
true. All right, so guys, ready for the next
Yes.
one?
Let's get
Is
it.
this-
I love these. I have to tell you, I love how you just find these stories and these articles because you just,
Yeah.
I feel like I learn something new every week.
Yeah.
I hope, Miles, are you learning something new?
You're taking notes, Miles?
Oh, Miles.
Miles
Yes,
was
he's
sleeping.
like, yeah, we caught Miles. He was in a daydream.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, is this next story a real finding or is this a fiction? Law enforcement strikes back at 420 events by pulling permits and compensating sound systems. Is this a true story? Did this occur in a couple locations, or did I dream this up?
You dreamt it up.
She said it wasn't any law enforcement pushback against 420 that involved pulling permits,
Oh, yeah.
confiscating
Sound
equipment.
equipment. That's where I have an issue with.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they confiscate sound?
Because they're like the parents at the party. They
Right.
take the
Well, just
speaker
take
cable.
it. You don't want to turn it down?
I will take
I'll
this.
take it.
You tell your friends. They
Exactly.
can go home now.
Well, the-
Yeah, they did it.
No.
So we're tied at 1-1. Well,
Yes.
Janice sniffed it out. It is
Ah.
indeed a made-up story, but
Wow.
but to give you credit, Randy, it's things that have been done in the past at marijuana events.
yeah.
Like the night before, one event, I think it was in Michigan, like one of these hash bashes or something, not necessarily a 420 event. It was a cannabis event where law enforcement went out the night before, or a local official, no one really knows who, and put out like fish guts everywhere and like fertilizers down, so that the next day when the people were in the concert, like
That's
What?
chemical warfare like that. That's how people strike back.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wait,
don't make
police
these.
officers did that?
It's rumored that it was police officers,
Oh
but
my
probably
God.
community members. Someone was out there a couple years ago at one of these outdoor cannabis festivals the night before, putting out fertilizer and fish guts all over the place
Why?
to fertilize the soil. Like, oh, it's time for its treatment right before your permitted
before.
event.
Right before 10,000 people
Oh my
gather in
God.
a field
That's a
full of
malicious
horse
little.
shit,
Oh my God. Okay.
jumping around.
I don't understand that. Do you? I don't understand that at all. Like, why would they be that mean? Sorry, I tend to believe
Yeah.
sometimes in the goodness of people until I meet an asshole like
Let
that.
him smoke a joint and he wouldn't do that shit. That's the sad part about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else, Jahan? What else do you have?
All right. Well, so for some of these stories, the fiction and the ones that I found, I've been trying to make up some story to put them in context. So is this next story, was this something that it's a finding, or is this a fiction? And it's hard to imagine with all legal cannabis available, and in some cases a large black market in regions with ineffective cannabis programs, but knockoff products appear to be increasingly common. So I want to ask you guys, was there an article published recently about fake weed cartridges popping up across the country? Fake weed cartridges. Is this a real national story about them popping up across the country? Is the fake cartridges a real thing, or is this a real fake story?
Meaning there's not
Oh,
really
yeah, okay, Jahan, you just confused me by
Right.
that.
I know.
think it's a
Okay.
fake I mean, a real story.
yeah.
It's a real story?
Yeah.
So it's not just
Fake cartridges.
fake cartridges. We're not just talking about black market cartridges here, right?
So you're saying cartridges filled with like whatever.
Something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This is a good job, guys. You got it. This is indeed fake weed cartridges are still popping up across the country is a real news headline. And according to
Jeez.
headlines around the country, these are hot items, but authorities have recently seized these cartridges in New Jersey, Nebraska, Delaware, Florida, Indiana, Ohio, and Massachusetts, and soon to come to a state near you. But
Oh,
Oh
that's
my
crazy.
God.
so
dude.
they found fake weed cartridges that were look like kids' cereal boxes. So some of them look a little more ridiculous than your standard cartridge you might find in a dispensary.
Yep.
The contents are usually obfuscated or covered, and so they tend to be, I don't know. These are all I can gather from the information is that
What are they usually comprised of?
no one
what's in
really
them?
knows.
They haven't
Goodness.
tested it?
Not yet.
So someone is like vaping urine or something
Oh, God.
and
I
calling
mean-
it lemon haze.
Or
They-
water.
yeah.
They're like essential oils. Just
Yeah.
like beep, beep, beep.
Oh
Who
my
knows? Who
God.
knows? Just that's why it's important to know your sources, be able to trace things.
There's trickery out there.
There are lots of
Lots.
tricksters.
Trickster.
Oh my God.
Damn.
That is just, again, special place in hell for people like
Yep.
that.
Seriously.
all right.
Oh, man.
So our last finding or fiction headline
Yes.
Okay.
before we move into talking about science. All right. Did Baskin-Robbins and Haagen-Dazs issue a joint statement about people of color and weed legalization? Is this a national story? Is this a national headline? Or am I just hungry? But Baskin-Robbins and Haagen-Dazs issue a joint statement saying, make sure weed legalization doesn't leave people of color behind.
I'll say it's a fake story
Why do you think it is?
because I can't imagine that they would, because they're competitors,
That's
unless
what I
they're
thought.
owned by the
Hmm.
same business.
I didn't think
What if they were
by-
owned by the same business? Would you
Well,
believe
I
it?
Well, it'd be
know
a
that there's a
little more.
Baskin Robbins and a Dunkin' Donuts thing.
Mhm.
partnership?
Right.
but two different
But
products.
I
so-
don't think Haagen-Dazs
I think
is
they
part of
compete,
that
yeah.
little duo.
Two ice cream manufacturers aren't coming together over weed
Yeah.
legalization.
No.
Nope. Oh man.
You are correct.
Yes.
But
that's sad.
Ben and Jerry's did
Oh,
issue a weed legalization
God, I
statement
love them.
saying
Okay.
that people of color shouldn't be left behind. But
I-
they did do that over the weekend.
They did
It
over
is.
over
It
the
is.
holiday weekend, the 420 holiday weekend.
So
What are they,
not that
Seattle cats. Or that,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
so.
So they're cool cats.
They are really,
real.
they've done some great work. Man, that was a little trickster Jahan.
You like that? Well, I
Good
thought
one.
it
No, but I was
That
like,
was a good
man,
one.
I was like, they're competitors. They're-
Yeah, there's no way.
so I should have just chose one in the future.
Mhm.
It should have just done Haagen-Dazs, like some
Yeah.
German.
And that's why I would have been, no,
Nah.
no, no.
Sorry.
All right. Well, those were the top news, real and imagined stories for the week.
That was good.
And now I want to go into the science. And with these real or fictional science, I'm going to give you a little bit of context to help understand them. And then I want you guys to tell me, I'll ask the question, did the researchers X or Y? And so just to give you some context. So our first finding, or is it fiction? Is it a research finding? Is it fiction? Is about the endocannabinoid system. And we know like you have the ECS, which is what cannabis stimulates in our body. It's like a naturally occurring system like endorphins. So the question is about research on steroids and hormones and their effect on endocannabinoids. So did researchers study steroids, among them testosterone, cortisone, hydrocortisone, and found that they may elevate endocannabinoids by inhibiting their degradation? So is this a true story? Did researchers discover that these very common steroid hormones stimulate the same system as THC, or am I just pumped up over cannabis?
You're making that
You're
up.
making this up.
You think you don't think, why do you think it's not true? Why do you think that?
What threw me was the hydrocortisone, the
Testosterone.
testosterone, and
Cortisone was in it.
and the cortisone. So we're talking, if I'm not mistaken, 2 topical applications and then a human produced.
Yeah, and those are just 3 of the 6. But yeah, there's
Right.
these.
3 of this. So that
So-
distance there is what threw me off.
Interesting.
I don't believe what you're saying. And the reason I don't believe what you're saying is I think it's probably the reverse.
Oh, that they
They
further their degradation than
Or that-
inhibit it. So yeah, okay, no, those are good. Those are good things. So
no,
you
I
have.
didn't know I
That's not
said
what I
that. Dr. J.
I'm just. What it goes.
I was saying that's actually the ECS is responsible for impacting them.
Oh, okay.
So the lie was in who's.
Hmm.
So did researchers discover that these steroids stimulate the same system as THC? We're saying one, which is a great thought, is well, you have some that are produced internally, some that are applied topically. How could they be affecting it?
Right.
We have sayings that actually the story is the other way around, that the system is impacting these steroids and these hormones. Well, according to the Faculty of Bioscience and Technology for Food, Agriculture, and the Environment in Italy, the results point to steroids as new regulators of FAW interaction with membranes, which may impact the biological activity of endocannabinoids. So this is a real article published in April, which looked at 6 common steroids, including testosterone, hydrocortisone, and hydrocortisone and cortisone, and found that they did indeed limit or inhibit the degradation of our naturally occurring THC-like molecules, anandamide, 2-AG, the endocannabinoids. They elevate. Someone here and tapping. It's not my heart, right?
No, I
Okay.
think we have someone beating on the walls.
Okay, so this story is true. Steroids.
the ghost of Greer.
Steroids and these hormones stimulate the same system as THC. This is brand new research coming out. We'll include it in the notes for those of you who want to read more.
Wow.
So, but good thinking on that. I really liked what you guys said, because I thought maybe the same things. How could these broad class of steroids
Yes.
have an effect? But apparently they have similar mechanism of action. They maybe not all be acting in the same place, but they're having.
Why is testosterone considered a steroid or classified as a?
Because it can help to. There's anabolic and catabolic steroids. Some
Once
help
it's
build.
been extracted,
Yeah.
not naturally
It might
produced testosterone.
I think if it's getting to the sites where it can have an effect, it probably would be. It depends on the amount and concentration. So part of perhaps hormone replacement therapy or some of the effects from people, say, using it to compete might help with pain and inflammation in terms of like building that body mass or something like that, or bone density, for example. Endocannabinoids, cannabinoid system is important for like preventing osteoporosis. The healthier your system is, the less likely you are to have severe age-related osteoporosis. So the effect on bone I could see is like potentially being, and testosterone does create denser bones. It's one of the things why people don't know if men who are transgender should compete later in life, because they have an advantage of bone density and having testosterone, which gives them sort of a natural advantage in certain competitions like powerlifting and things like that. But anyway, that was off into the deep weeds there.
Hey, I need to interrupt you guys right now because Amanda posted something, because we were talking about those fake cartridges. And what she said is, have seen so many gifted cartridges that are not cannabis. Encouraged a customer to have theirs tested, and it turned out to be DMT.
What the heck?
The spirit molecule.
Yeah.
I would say that if you took a big inhalation on that, you would not get the desired effect.
Wow.
I mean, could you? I can't imagine a cooler thing.
What is DMT?
It's a powerful hallucinogen.
No, you're the expert.
It's basically thought of as the spirit molecule. Some people think it's.
Okay.
All right.
Are we able to hear that?
Is that someone on DMT, or are they coming through the ceiling? It's either a construction crew or a 5-year-old.
Hey, and it's going live. I'm afraid that something's going to fall down on us. That is crazy.
Somebody's not into smoking.
Do we need to tell anyone? That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
super loud.
Oh,
They're doing
doing
construction.
construction. And they don't even realize they're above a studio.
Oh,
all right.
Welcome, Facebook
Little
Live
jackhammer.
listeners, because this is, look, here
You
comes
thought-
Miles.
you thought you were going to interrupt us. How about that?
It got a little angry for a second.
I know.
It's like,
I thought it was the ghost of Gotham City
Right.
podcast.
If you were listening really close in your headphones, we apologize.
Sorry, man.
we were just a little freaked out ourselves, to
Yeah.
be quite honest. I was like, what the fuck?
Here
Because
we
people
go.
have been hitting on the walls since we
Yeah.
started this podcast.
all around.
And now they're hitting like above us. You could see shit shaking in
It's
here.
like he was trapped in the ceiling trying to get out.
It's like, help,
I don't wait for the spirits. I'm the first one out. So you see Farmer Rand like
running.
yeah.
It's like you heard the footsteps. and
Yeah,
you're like,
and,
Oh.
my-
Amanda says it sounds like a tap class. Well, I can do a tap dance if you need me to.
there we go.
So what she brought up was that's crazy. And
Oh yeah.
isn't
the
it more
DMT.
expensive to put that crap into a
wait, so tell him about
And why
DMT.
would
Tell
they-
the listeners about
Well, like I said, DMT is the spirit molecule. So this is an hallucinogen. It's a tryptamine type drug. It occurs in a lot of plants and animals. It's lesser known than kind of LSD or magic mushrooms. It produces a brief but intense visual and auditory hallucinogenic experience.
Mm.
Some people have posted reports of their trips online.
Yeah.
Arrowid, I think .net or .com is a website where people post a lot of drug experiences. You also find a lot of it on Reddit. Some people talk about getting visited by Martians and things like
What's
that.
the safety of, like, how safe is it?
That's a good question. I mean,
You don't know.
it's been used historically by various cultures for ritual purposes because of, its availability in the natural world.
Yeah.
It is illegal in most countries. It's also known as the businessman's trip because you could have a full depth psychedelic experience in considerably less time than other substances.
Wow.
So it can be inhaled, injected, vaporized, ingested, and it affects does on the dose, but it's a very short period of time. We're talking 5 to 15 minutes, but effects can last 3 hours if they are orally ingested with it's some sort of inhibitor. I want to say a monooxidase inhibitor. They're MAOIs.
Yeah.
So if people take those with it, it'll extend the lifespan of it.
Wow.
It's typically administered like by Amazonian tribes. It's been mixed with ayahuasca brews.
And this is another reason why legalization and having safe cultivation practices and making it available to people is so important.
Yeah, and it can be made cheaply too. Particularly,
is that where the advantage is coming?
Probably because you also have
cheaper
synthetic isomers. You know, so you have some guy in a garage is like, yeah, this is my version of DMT,
right?
And,
oh
and then,
my god,
yeah.
Jeez.
But my favorite is reading about the reported encounters with external entities, like elves and stuff that people report.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about. I like to hear about.
It's weird when some people have like the same experience. They're like, that elf visited you too? Wow. But I can't think of a more frightening thing than like being somewhere and like, like, oh, I have some back pain. I'm gonna use this cannabis product, and then you're just gone for 15 minutes. Like,
oh my god.
And your friends are like, what are you smoking? Like, dude.
Like that could ruin an evening.
That'd ruin everything.
And maybe that's definitely don't drive.
And it's interesting. She's in Massachusetts, so they're in their really first year of these dispensaries.
Yeah.
Disseminating a lot of products. So already she's hearing
the ghosts are back.
This is weird.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. We finally made it. Come on.
I feel like
we're across the border.
I feel like I'm screaming about DMT.
It's
a naturally occurring molecule in the brain.
While we're talking about it.
I talked to the front desk. She said they're going to have them stop till 6. They should stop any second.
Yeah. Okay. They should stop.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen listening to the podcast, we have construction that shall be stopped soon, hopefully.
So, but the last thing I want to say about DMT,
Thanks, Miles.
despite there are synthetic versions of it, despite it being a drug of abuse, it is a naturally occurring molecule in the brain. Its modern function in the brain while you're awake isn't known. It is hypothesized that it is secreted during REM sleep and things like that, but it's a low cost molecule for your brain. Some people have talked about how it's released in your brain when you die or you think you're dying, and that creates some of those spiritual experiences.
Oh wow.
But it is a very interesting molecule, but it is associated with visual dreams and things like that. So again, this is still a fringe area of research because there's not a ton of there's like a FDA approved DMT sleep drug in development or something like that. So a lot of these researchers are kind of dedicated to this. But anyway.
So what else? Anything else? Or should we start taking calls?
No.
Well, I do have a couple more headlines. I have two more.
Okay.
Two more science
All right,
headlines,
cool.
and then we can bring in the callers. For our next research study, a little bit of background. We often wonder, how does cannabis affect our household and the people and things around us? It's a common question. So the study in question involves how cannabis use affects people and things around the user. So did scientists uncover an association where cannabis use was shown to be positively associated with pets, but not houseplants? So a recent study surveying household cannabis use found an association that was like, okay, there's a positive association with the quality of life of pets like cats and dogs, but a higher mortality among houseplants. Is this a real study?
Pot users?
Yeah, cannabis users in the household looking at the effects of the household. How does it affect relationships? How does it affect income, health of children, partners? And what was unique about this study was the pets and plants and other things they looked at to see what the impact of use was over a series of months. So did scientists uncover this association with healthier pets, but not houseplants, or am I taking your dog for a walk?
I'm going to go ahead and vote that it is true.
I'm going to say it's true also.
Interesting. Why would you think it would be true that the cats and dogs would do better, but more houseplants would
Right.
die?
Because I'm thinking the test group that was given these questions are more of the stereotypical pothead, right?
Right.
And they will spoil their dog by sharing the smoke with and getting the dog stoned and sit there stroking them and, maybe go out on walks and smoke while, because the rest of the house.
Yeah,
So in other words, they're neglecting other members in the house and other things in the house. So the plants don't get
they're
watered.
neglecting their chores.
Their chores, watering the damn plants, moving them towards the sun. And
I really hope that I'm wrong about this, but I agree with you completely. I assume that it's true too. But again, I'm one who kills my plants. So I kind of, and I love my dog.
Wow.
What does that say about me if it's true?
I think we should.
You're like the rest of the potheads out there. Shit.
Oh my God. Sorry.
I have to say, I think we should apply for a grant because this study was completely made up. There was no study on pets and houseplants, but it makes sense from
Doesn't
a
it?
quality of life factor. I mean, maybe we might find out that dogs do better than cats with the cannabis using household. We just don't
think
know.
No. This sounds like such an interesting study.
Well, it
Oh my
came
God,
it
y'all are
came
nuts.
from a statistic I read, which said
Really?
that 96% of veterinarians say they've been asked about CBD products for their pets, and
Yeah.
almost 40% of them get asked weekly about it.
Yeah.
And so-
I can't say who, but I had a faculty member ask me about it, and I felt like the faculty member was asking me to hit them up
Hit them
for
up.
weed.
Yeah,
They were asking for their
Mhm.
dog, and
Right.
it just cracks me
Yeah,
up.
right.
And
It's
I
for
just-
Fido.
Yeah,
I swear.
sure
Right.
it is.
Sure
I was like,
it is.
all I could think of was my luck. The dog would die. I would never get my doctor.
There it is. Smart.
I know. So I was like, I don't know
Really?
what she's talking about.
Yeah. Do not know. Sorry. Try a milk bone, motherfucker.
Anyway,
Okay.
Jayhan, that was good. That was a good one.
All
That was
right.
a really. I
You got
enjoyed
us.
that one because I
I
was.
thought
like,
I was onto something.
I
You might
know.
be. You might be.
really-
I mean,
And I thought that, oh shit, how did you know that I'd like this?
I mean, because we've seen people do that.
I mean, I
I've seen
cannot.
it.
The joke is, I cannot keep plants alive. I
Yeah.
kill my plants.
Yeah.
you got to get yourself a cactus.
I can't. Right? I even fucked my succulents up the other day.
Whoa.
You what?
Yeah, no, I messed them up. Oh my God. I fucked my succulents up.
That's a classic
That-
right there, boy.
That
That's
should be
a
on
t-shirt.
t-shirt.
There
I
it is.
fucked my succulents up.
That's a t-shirt. Because green thumbs will be like,
Yeah.
me, I've done that. Other people are like, oh my God.
Yeah. She fucked what?
Yeah, she sucked what?
I fucked my succulents up. Anyway, I did fuck my succulents up. They're all broken right now.
Oh my
Anyhow.
God.
Poor babies.
I
Oh.
know. But
Oh.
Ruby's doing well. The dog is. So
Good.
that's all that matters,
So-
right? Just like that study. Anyway.
Oh. Yeah, I think we should do an online survey about pets and plants, and I think we're onto something here. I didn't even think it would be possible, but you guys are making me believe that I just proposed a research study. Okay, so our next and final finding or fiction, our story to CannaBus, is a little more serious, but
yeah.
So this is our last one before we move into the callers. But so the background on this is marijuana is commonly used, right, as a recreational substance with, pain relieving and mood enhancing properties. Many people living with HIV identify cannabis as a palliative substance, something to use to help them with symptoms or their drug regimen. However, there are concerns about THC, which is known to influence the immune system, have an effect on the immune system. So the effects of marijuana use in people with HIV is a little controversial. There's some evidence that it might be helpful with weight gain, but there's also very few little literature available about the Black adult population that has HIV that's using cannabis. And so the question is, did researchers conduct a study on Black people living with HIV and found that those that are using cannabis have higher immune cell counts than those that don't use cannabis? That is, higher CD4 or CD8 counts than their THC negative counterparts. So does cannabis positively impact HIV? Would researchers investigate a community that's often ignored in respect to these health outcomes? Is sciencing finally focusing on areas that desperately need attention, or I'm trying to focus you away from the truth? So did researchers conclude that in the people they studied, Black people living with HIV, that cannabis use was associated with higher CD4 and CD8 counts than their THC negative counterparts? Am I just trying to sound cool, or is this a real study?
Well, we know, Jahan, you always try to sound cool.
You gotta be cool with a name like Dr. J.
I know, right? So we've blown that one out of the water. But I would actually think that would be a true finding.
Me too.
Well, and I think it is. Let me double check. Yes, it is. It is in our favorite journal, the Dad Journal.
The Dad Journal.
Drug and Alcohol Dependence
I
Journal.
learned it from watching you, Dad.
So in an interesting note, yes,
Sorry.
I read you, Dad. I know what you're up to. So this is called Confirmed Use and Lymphocyte Count in Black People Living with HIV, published this month. There is a small caveat. The paper was retracted, but is available in a new version. It was retracted because they published using a method that didn't belong to them. I know we talked about patents earlier, but apparently they used some method from a book to look at their the medical information they were gathering, and they used a type of analysis that didn't belong to them. So they had to use a different type of analysis to show the same data.
And it's still
Goodness.
So it's
so
if you go to look up the study, it'll say it's retracted, but then there's a link where you can go to a fixed copy of the study that's been republished. So this was big findings, and I was like so glad they republished it, because I was like, oh man, this is
was
an
it
amazing
a statistical test that they didn't know that they had to? Wow.
Yep. Kind of crazy. But I think it's about time we go to some listener
Oh, this will be fun.
Q&A.
I wonder, are we ever going to hear back from Chris?
Chris, why don't you give us a call?
Chris.
We want to hear.
We would
Should
love to hear
should I
from-
check in with our first caller? See-
Yes.
Do it.
Here
All
comes
right.
Miles with a plug-in.
All right. You guys talk about cannabis for a second.
Cannabis.
That T-shirt is gonna be
Okay.
special. It's gonna be special. 420 T-shirt. That's funny.
I fucked up. Wait,
That's
what was
funny.
it again?
Uh,
Oh my god.
my fucculent.
No, it's not my. I fucked up my succulent. I sucked my succulent. Oh my god.
I said marijuana. Stop talking about damn succulents.
But
Oh my
the
goodness.
succulents were messed up. They were fucked up. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah.
This is so. I have to tell you again, while we were waiting for Dr. J, I'm so proud of Brooklyn Sprout and this new
We're gonna have a good time.
opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time.
Yep. Really
Do
good
some
time.
Special things for folks.
Yay! I love people like that.
Yeah.
How? Let's see. I am going to DM me your number. Amanda wants to call in.
Cool.
Hello?
Yeah.
Amanda's going to call. We're going to get Amanda on the phone too,
Cool.
hopefully. I love
Our
this,
most
guys.
dedicated listener.
I know. We love Amanda.
Amanda, we got a job.
Massachusetts.
Amanda's gonna get a job with us.
That's after Miles.
Oh, Miles
We're gonna
is-
steal Miles
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, that can be fun. You can ask a follow-up if you want, but
Huh?
I think that would be a fun one.
You
What's
do?
that?
Yeah.
Good.
Wait,
we got
we
it.
have a
Hey,
question right there.
in-house.
Wait.
For you.
Oh,
You know, people can buy land or whatever on the moon.
Yep.
yeah.
Can I buy like a piece of land?
Miles is trying to
Dude.
buy land in
I like
Colorado
that.
from
I'll
us.
introduce you in a second. Hang in there.
Okay,
Oh.
here we go, guys. Our first caller. Great.
All right. All right. I think we have our first caller. Are you there, Julia?
Hello, I am here.
Welcome to the New Hemp Times podcast. Thank you so much. You're here with Jay and Randy and myself.
Hey,
Jayhan.
Julia.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for calling.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, what's your question that you'd like us to kick around?
So the first question I have for you is, how many suppositories would it take in order for someone to ingest them orally and have an effect?
Oh,
Wait, suppositories
Boys.
orally?
wow.
Oh, I wouldn't want to have it orally. It's
I
supposed to go up your
Get
butt.
behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
An oral suppository.
I've
Now,
never
let's-
heard of
maybe
that.
is this
We don't
Am I
mean to
missing
be
something?
Oh, we did
disrespectful.
just
Was
swap.
that
Okay.
was that a mistake? I don't
Wait.
mean to be disrespectful. Was that a mistake, Julia? You mean
Is it for a
anally?
No,
sore
no.
throat? What's an oral suppository?
I know. I've
for?
never
I
heard
don't-
an.
So this is a concern that was raised by some mothers
Okay.
in our state.
Okay.
well, where are you calling
Mm-hmm.
from?
I mean, they have throat hemorrhoids.
Colorado.
I don't get
Oh.
Colorado mothers in Colorado were worried
About-
that suppositories would be taken orally.
Yes, this was raised as a concern.
maybe they're CBD suppositories
Oh,
for
no.
and the
That's-
kids are thinking they can.
Yeah,
Are
I
these-
see what you're saying. Well,
So
the
Are you saying that there are just some crazy mothers out there who are worried that their children are going to ingest this, or that they're not going to know it's for rectal use only?
Like, are these
Well,
kids?
I guess that's my question for you.
okay. Well, what's in these products?
That's-
Are they cannabis extracts? Or are we talking about derived substances here? Because I know there's a
Mhm.
licensed THC suppository, but it's a derivative. It has what's called a hemiacetate group added to it because it will not cross the colon, the
Mm.
skin layer in there, the epithelial layer in there, because it's they have to add something to it so that it'll actually penetrate
Mm.
versus just acting locally.
Mhm.
So I don't know if your question's about taking a cannabis product that's like a whole plant extract orally, or if you're talking about taking one of these derived products.
Or
orally.
perhaps kids are eating preparation H, which couldn't be good either.
We should look on Reddit because maybe
Oh my
I mean,
god!
Ugh.
with
I
the
guess
Tide
you could
Pod
say that
challenge,
with any, that argument
Well,
just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
I'm glad you raised that point, Jayhan, because I think it's important to determine whether the product is made from derivatized cannabinoids or not. And even though, to your point, if it's not derivatized, it likely will not be able to absorb into the bloodstream from the colon. Oftentimes, there are suppositories that are marketed to only have a directly extracted cannabinoid in it, like THC.
Mm.
And so I see common doses to be 40 milligrams per suppository, and they're typically made in either MCT oil or cocoa butter or something similar.
well, there
Mhm.
not a lot of evidence to suggest that those would get into the bloodstream. But if your goal is to, treat locally, where it's sitting, that is a possibility because maybe you have some lower intestinal pain. If you can get it there, then, that would have a
Or-
local effect.
Or is it are moms concerned that their 9-year-olds or pre-smoking, kids are finding out that, let's try and get a buzz by sucking on a suppository?
Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
That
I
could be
think that might be part of the concern.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god!
did
Ugh.
see a candy in the dollar store that was a plunger with a toilet bowl where you stuck the candy plunger into the sugar.
Really?
So maybe these kids are like, "Oh, this has a butt on it. This is
Right.
good."
Yeah.
But like,
That's-
if,
Put it
like,
in your mouth.
Ew!
I think
What
that
does this taste like?
Right.
I think proper labeling and making sure your kids know the difference between a rectal and oral delivered medicine would be appropriate.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I
hope
think this
that's
ultimately.
not-
I mean, I think that we have to be very clear, Julie, as you mentioned, be very distinct about what's in these products, because even if they're not derived compounds, the other reality is like you said, they're in some sort of proprietary blend, and it could be designed for absorption in the colon and not the gut, right?
Right.
It could just work unpredictably in the gut and not have a lot of who knows? I'm kind of making stuff up here to discuss this, but that could be the concern, is that yeah, it's designed to be efficient through one end and it's not going to be very efficient in the other.
Kids, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do this. All right, cool.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
Thank you for
so
calling,
much. Did
Julia.
you have one more question that we could answer, a quick one, or do you want to call in next week with your next preparation age question?
Yeah.
Right. I suppose my next question for you would be, what is your opinion on the regulation or lack thereof of the hemp CBD market?
Oh, well, we could do a round table on this one.
Yep.
What do you guys think?
Um,
I mean,
in what state?
yeah.
Just
Is there
Just-
nationally,
Nationally,
federally,
or-
like locally?
I suppose I would be interested to hear your answer to any of the above, but let's just say in New York.
Oh, I would love there to be some.
Yes.
Yep.
I'd like
Uh-huh.
some ability that if I got a CBD product, or a loved one got, or my dog or cat got a CBD product, that I could return it to the manufacturer if it didn't perform as advertised or there was something wrong with it. Right now, I mean, these products come and go as quickly as they're made. There's
Sure.
little or no traceability or accountability. And
And that's
I
scary.
mean, when
Yeah.
there's risks, you want assurances, and I think that's not too
Yeah.
much to ask. But I don't want to see such heavy-handed regulation that these products there's super barriers to getting these non-intoxicating products, but some sort of reassurance.
Yep. For
um,
protection.
yeah.
It also regulation also protects the product creator that has gone through the process of
Right.
delivering something that is a great
Safe.
product, that's safe and really
Yeah.
does something. And it separates us from the bootleggers who
Yeah.
are going to
That-
cheat.
Who are going to have the contaminated
Yep.
products. And,
Exactly.
Protecting public health, it protects people who are doing it right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I
I think
do think that.
so. You're and I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
so-
I just worry, especially from the patient's perspective. They're thinking, I just know of people who've had physical issues happen because they were taking what they thought was CBD, and it wound up having some other contaminants in
Mhm.
there, and it caused a physiological response within them, and
Yeah.
stuff like that just scares me.
I automatically, just from being a grower, I just thought about regulation as far as growing
Yeah.
in the state of New York and how much and in what counties and how it gets processed. And, just because I'm always thinking about cultivation of plants, but
Right.
from a product safety standpoint, we've got to.
We have to protect this.
Yep.
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 And protect people, the consumers. Oh, wow.
does that give you a good answer to your question, or a start?
That did, absolutely. Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you so
Julia.
much for your time,
Appreciate
Julia.
it.
Thank you. Amanda
Yes,
also wants
Thank
us.
you all. You're doing great.
Thank
Oh,
you.
On the
thanks.
podcast.
Thanks so much. Thanks for
Thank
listening.
you. Bye.
I
Of course.
know. I love our statistics keep getting better every
Nice.
week. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
All right.
So, I also have Amanda wants to call in as well. So
Cool.
whenever, how many, do you have another call?
We have 2 callers right now.
Okay.
Does she want to be the last one we do, the third one, or does she want to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let
Yep.
me see if
Is she on hold?
Still on the phone.
No,
If not,
I haven't. I can text her, or she can call in. You want me to go ahead and just have her call me right now? Or,
Hi, Brian. Are you there?
whoops, don't do that, Amanda.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
hold
have your
tight.
question ready?
All right, we're about to have our
Next
next
call.
caller. This
Yeah,
is
just
fun.
before-
We're
Yeah.
getting like really cool questions. I love that
Good
we're doing
community.
this. If we can just have more people who want to, she's on a train. Amanda's on a
Oh,
train.
perfect.
Whisper, Amanda.
Oh my God, that's a great question.
Don't let them know you're.
Hey,
I'll
guess
put you
who's
on in a
watching
second.
us right now?
Who that?
Greer Barnes.
GB.
You're right.
He
All right.
missed us. He missed us.
All right, we have our next caller on the line.
Awesome.
Brian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, where are you calling in from today?
Specifically from the University of Minnesota in the agricultural horticulture department.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Someone from Minnesota is listening to us. Awesome. Thank you for calling, Brian.
And what is your question for our group today?
So I've been designing a few experiments here at the university, and I've received a little blowback for actually getting the actual crop here on the university. And I wanted to know the actual, I guess, importance of doing the science that is required to establish this crop horticulturally and agronomically in an economic sense.
So you want to know the importance of studying hemp, and it's important to agriculture and maybe economics as well?
Yes. So, for instance, the science around, say, let's take soybean is a huge crop up here. We know planting in emergent states. We know crops to buy crop with it. We know things to intercrop with it.
Right.
And the USDA has made this crop legal, and we have about 67 counties of our 89 counties growing it now. And these farmers out here have no extension pages and no resources as for, beneficial pests or, anything of that matter. That kind of information is available to other crops, but not for hemp.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, broadly speaking, and I think Randy can go into more detail, but broadly speaking, I think you've hit a lot of important things. One is just looking at the environmental impact. The more you know about the plant, the more you can take advantage of natural ways and ways to, work around having to use stuff that's going to harm the environment or leave a big carbon footprint.
Right.
Understanding the plant will allow people who are working with it to do things like patent products, varieties, and cultivation methods. If you don't know the plant, you don't know if you've created something unique that wouldn't have existed in nature previously, as we discussed earlier about patenting of cannabis plants. And
and you're also talking about what should be happening, I guess, is hopefully happening out there in Minnesota, which is a partnership between farmers and folks that make living in agriculture who want to turn their fields and space into hemp production, but don't have that traditional knowledge that they find in years of soybean production and other products that are well tested, and there's a huge knowledge base. So it's going to have to start in the universities. How developed is your program right now, or where are you guys in the evolution of it?
So we've designed I've designed a few experiments. One is revolving around, when you switch from a conventional system to an organic system, there's 3 years of soil amendments that you have to give the plot before they can be certified. Now, many farmers here will intercrop with, say, winter rye or some other type of cereal grain, which is relatively low in value. And when you look at the objectives of what an extension page is supposed to do, basically benefit the bottom dollar of the average farmer, this hemp crop right now exceeds all agricultural crops as far as value. So it would seem that figuring out a way to intercrop cannabis in the 3-year soil amendment where the average farmer is not getting any money because they want to go organic, it would make sense to put a crop like hemp in to kind of bridge the gap of where you're supposed to kind of take a hit in your pocket before you get to organic.
100%. That's the exact point we were saying about what hemp can do, and also it's day-to-day low maintenance.
And if I could venture or float an experiment past you, one would be, you're absolutely right. Hemp is great at remediating the soil, pulling up heavy metals and things. So it's a great way to remove that. So one thing you could measure is, heavy metal content before and after from soil samples. But the other thing would be interesting is, what does it do to the biome of the soil? Because each plants need their own kind of, I think they're called like endophytes and other beneficial biological organisms. So maybe hemp has a benefit there that rye or wheat or these other crops don't, but also potentially looking at what stuff other than heavy, is cannabis or hemp pulling out any good things out of the soil that you're going to want to replace with those amendments
within that 3 years?
Yeah, that might be something to look at. Might be nothing, it might be something, but those could be things to kind of solidify it as something that is useful during this stage of agriculture.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah, sure. I mean, here as it sits now, we don't even know if Minnesota soil is suitable for bass fiber hemp production or fiber hemp production. So people are out here
Right.
just planting crops, and they don't really have an objective based on our soil type
Right.
for what's best for them.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just like to. I just want to know the real importance for doing this. It seems like the USDA set this crop out and made it legal, but the actual knowledge to where beneficial, for the average man, it really comes from extension pages at local universities, but we can't necessarily research the actual plant on campus as of right now,
That's
which
right.
is super contradictory. Whereas, I can go buy seeds and send them in an open envelope to Canada as of right now. But you mean to tell me I can't plant it on my university and give you real answers to real questions?
Yep.
That is when people talk about research being blocked, people aren't talking about administering THC or CBD in the clinic. It's this type of research that you're talking about, Brian. And I hope that there's something happens so you don't have to apply for the DEA license just to grow a few simple plants for agricultural study. But that might be what your university's thinking.
It is.
And
at this point.
Yeah.
How else would they?
And unless you can get some
around.
sort of special permission from like the USDA or something, I don't see any way you could do it. There are researchers at the University of Nevada. I think the gentleman's his last name is Miller. They are doing indoor pesticide studies on hemp and cannabis plants. They might be a useful group for you to reach out to because they're navigating that as well. But you may also, and again, I'd love to talk with you offline about this too. But yeah, Kentucky's a great example. They're going to be, there might be people you can reach out to there. But your local producers who are cultivating crops maybe nearby, maybe engaging them in an off-site research study. And one of the ways I got around doing research on cannabis at universities is I would propose the project to different department heads, and I use the word project, because projects have defined limits and end. Research may never end.
That's right.
So if you propose, I want to do this project on hemp, and I think one of the things that helped me was I just went around and talked to different people, different departments, just like every day. I had a hit list. I was like, I'm going to talk to the chemistry guy today, talking to the biology guy tomorrow, and I just go to their office hours and say, hey, I'm trying to do this project. Do you think you can help? What do you think I should do?
Yeah.
And sometimes they can give you direction or find you those allies who are interested in that project. And that's what happened with me. I was able to test cannabis at a university is I found a chemist, worked for NASA, was really excited about testing cannabis. And he found a way for me to apply within the university to get permission that did involve going through more restrictive processes. So I encourage you to reach out to your faculty. They're there to support you. But also, I'd be happy to talk with you about approaching some of these producers and engaging them in research.
I mean, connecting those farmers too and getting that network going that they begin to lobby from their side also. That's an important voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. This is an excellent topic. We'd love to have you back to let us know more about your research in the future.
That's so
heavy work.
crazy.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And wait, didn't you win an award recently? Didn't you get an award?
Oh yeah, I had actually one of the Mahmoud Elshali cannabis chemistry.
What?
Whoa.
Okay, he's all
That is cool.
Brian is just like, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I could replace any of you guys if you want.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
Oh my
Great.
gosh.
That's
I'm
great,
glad,
man.
I'm glad I searched you. Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Congrats
Thank
on
you
that.
so
Yeah, man.
much, and
Keep up the
congrats
good
on
work,
the
brother.
Award, buddy.
Yeah, and feel free to message me. I'd love to discuss this more with you if we can be helpful.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I'll connect with you. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good one.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
Awesome. So we have also on the line, we have our wonderful person, and this isn't going to work here because I have an iPhone.
So,
how did you get that?
I just
into it?
plugged in. Do you not have an auxiliary port?
No,
for
I have
headphones?
one of those. No, I have a. I have a thing. Hold on.
Hold on. We have to get a dangle.
We've got to get a dangle. Hold on.
So we also have one more caller, Ezra from last week, wants to call in. He has another story for us later. But we could try putting him on now while we get the dangle if you want.
Ez, give us a hit.
All right.
Sorry.
We'll
Awesome.
we'll
Yep,
see if
go
Ezra's
ahead. Let's
available.
see if Ezra's
And we'll
available.
have him tell us his story that he's burning to tell us.
He has a story.
Well, how about Brian's research? I mean, that was crazy. A hemp
that was-
researcher. I
Yep.
had no idea. Good
Yep.
thing I looked him up on the internet.
Awesome.
Yeah, we gotta
awesome.
have him
awesome.
on again.
Ezra,
So-
are you there?
Hello.
Hello? All right, hold on.
Wait.
Technic. Wait. Oops.
Wait.
Let me.
Up. Whoop.
All right, hold on.
Is it not working now?
I think it was. I think I just pushed the wrong button. Oh, there it is.
Up. Now
We're doing a
calling it.
live.
Hello?
Hey, Ezra, it's Jahan, Randy, and Jan. How are you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Good.
Ezra. Good to
We-
hear from you again, buddy.
We wanted to have you on. You said you had a story for us about cannabis.
Mm-mm.
That's right. Yeah, one of my many horror stories from my consulting time.
Okay, well, if you don't have a question, we'll take a cannabis horror story.
Okay, I do have a question, but I'll save it for after.
Okay.
So this was early in my career, so forgive me for not stopping this from happening. But and this is also the day that I decided that I was not going to work on butane or mixed hydrocarbon extraction laboratories.
Oh man,
Sounds
Okay.
dangerous.
sounds like a
So-
scared straight story.
It might be.
Sounds like
might
someone
be.
was missing some
If you're not
eyebrows.
straight at this point, I feel like you have no hope. But so they were using a Temesium, and I'm not going to name names because I don't know what they're doing now. But they were using this Temesium unit, which has like several vessels that are connected by pipes, essentially flexible metal pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And you would migrate the butane by heating one vessel and cooling another.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
So it's
boy.
like almost like branches, and you're just heating one to move it along, right? To
Yeah, it's like a single pot distillation almost, except
Mm.
it's more than one pot. You're just
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And in practice, it's worked pretty well. You can evacuate one container by heating it up, chill the other container, and all of butane will then condense in the chilled container and be evacuated out of that first container, right? And so the first container has this big metal column on it, and then a pot below it. So the big metal columns where you keep all your cannabis, and they would, go from a tank of butane, and the butane enters over the column, filters over the material, dissolves the cannabinoids, and dumps out into the pot. And
Yeah.
then the pot evaporates. After that's done, they evaporate the butane off of there, and it migrates to another container, and the cannabinoids and oils and such are left in the original container.
sounds good in theory.
Yeah.
Sounds good in theory, right? So there are valves to connect the tubes that shut off the tubes essentially, so you can open one pot while it's still
Oh right,
connected.
right.
Okay.
Because you don't want it leaking
So-
to another
Yeah.
place. You got to continue.
Yeah,
it,
because it wouldn't solve anything. You can open the vessel if there was boiling butane on the other side. So here we are heating up this
Oh my.
primary extraction material, this crude extract
Yeah.
in here. We're heating it up, and it should be migrating over to the other side. Little did we know, the valve connecting that pot to the chilled pot was not open. So they're just sitting there heating it up. So here we have superheated butane in a vessel without anywhere for it to go. The thing's not losing weight as it should be. So we know something's not happening right, but we haven't figured out what it is. And the guy who's hired me goes and says, I'm going to check it. And goes to the thing. The thing is, the
Where's
pot
this
is
still
connected to the
located?
extraction.
Is this like in
In
a
a garage?
basement, a garage, outside? Where is this?
It's in a garage.
That's what I
It's in a
thought.
garage. Yeah.
So his
See
last
it.
words
And,
were to you were, "I'm gonna
I'll go check. That's the last words of a lot of both of them.
talk about high desert, right? That's where we were in the middle of the desert in California. So, so the guy who's hired me goes to check it, and he grabs this valve, which not a valve. He grabs this big hand screw that basically affixes the collar, so that keeps the pot together with the the lid that's attached to this column. And I get one step as he goes and starts turning. I get one step closer, and I'm right next to him, and he's turned the thing just 180 degrees. Right? He probably took 4 or 5 turns to actually undo this collar, but the force that was in that pot wrenched the collar open and shot the column into the ceiling.
Damn.
Now, all this superheated butane and extract instantly expands, and just a quick wind of butane, and thank goodness there was no ignition source. So this isn't a story about why I look like Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Thank God.
But you guys got slimed by butane and cannabis oil, or just a big cloud of butane just like washed over you guys?
It's both. So it's a big cloud of butane, but as it's separating, it's like ejecting droplets of hash oil.
Was the hash oil hot or cold? I just gotta, because I'm thinking
it was
it's
hot.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
Yeah, this
It
is
was
tar
hot,
and
but I
feathered
think-
without the
I think
feathers.
the expansion. I think we more than dealt with the heat of the mixture in the expansion.
that is like
right?
some Elmer Fudd type stuff. Like I put a cork, like Daffy Duck put a cork in Elmer Fudd's like butane extractor. And it just boom blew up, and like you're just.
Oh, that's
Just-
good.
There's nothing worse than
Well-
washing hash oil out of your hair. I mean, you
Oh.
got to use the peanut butter on that.
No, there is something worse than washing hash oil out of your hair. It's washing hash oil out from underneath your eyelids.
Oh. Ow.
Jeez, Ezra, my God.
Under your
Ow.
eyelids.
Thank you for that story.
Oh,
Ezra.
my God.
I almost evacuated the studio.
Oh, my God.
my God.
Soak it, Ezra.
And
God.
Ow.
Butane's heavier than air, so it does the opposite of what helium does to your voice. And so, of course, my first words were, "Nobody lied about it." Even in the face of certain death, I'm an insufferable smartass.
Yeah,
That's
you're
hilarious.
lucky
Wait,
he
what
didn't-
was it exactly you said?
Nobody
Nobody light a match.
Nobody light a match.
That's funny.
I didn't know.
Yeah, luckily they didn't have a refrigerator or anything in there, because even the spark from that could have
Oh
ignited.
my
And that's happened to
God. The
people
house.
for when electronics click on, that static shock
Yeah.
is enough
Does
to
that.
ignite it.
Oh my
Thank
God!
you.
Thank you, Ezra.
We
for
have
calling in.
one more caller, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But thank you so much for that
That
wonderful,
was a good
terrifying story. I feel like we're gonna have to bring you back on for Halloween.
Yeah.
To tell cannabis
Tales
scary
from the
Yeah.
crypt. From the crypt.
tales from the extractor.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Well,
it.
sounds good, guys. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thanks,
All
Ezra.
right, take care, Ezra.
Join Cam.
All
Yeah,
will do.
right, join
Thank you.
Cam. I love that. All right, so we are about to get our girl from Massachusetts back on the line.
That's
Hold
my
on
state.
1 second. Well,
Nice.
she is. Amanda is our favorite. Well, no,
She's
she's
an
our
old school.
first
She's a veteran.
fan. Whoa, we got some static going on. There we go. Remove that. Oh, someone has their phone. I got lots of things.
Hey,
Hold on. Amanda, are you there?
Does she copy?
Amanda.
Does someone have a lightsaber on?
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, we're having all sorts of. Yeah, Amanda, we're calling you from another number. We can't hear you, damn it. Can you wait? Hold on.
Yeah, my phone's not fancy. It doesn't interfere with radio waves and
Well, mine doesn't
satellite
either.
technology.
Oh, stop it. Okay, we're going to have to figure this one out. Hold on 1 second.
With 8 minutes to go, will the crew
Will the
figure
crew
out how to
figure
get
out
on?
how to work friggin' technology? I'm going
See-
to show you her number right now.
What's her name again? Sorry?
Amanda.
Amanda.
And
We're
she's
calling-
on
She's
the city metro train.
right.
well, she's off now, so she
She's
wanted
like,
to.
I'm home already, guys.
I know.
What
She's
the
like,
heck?
screw you guys.
I
I got to
know.
cook dinner.
Just rolling.
Sorry, we have this very high-tech solution to this, and it takes.
I
All right,
know.
I hope it goes to voicemail. 'cause
Oh my
I
That
wanna
would be
God.
funny.
I hope she
leave the
heard
longest
what I was saying.
voicemail she's ever had.
Yeah, we could leave her a funny voicemail.
Hello?
Yes.
Is this Amanda?
Third time's a charm.
Yeah. Welcome to the New Hemp Times podcast. Thank you
How
for
are
messaging
you,
us.
kids?
Oh, we're
Good.
having great times
missing you.
as usual. Thank you for chiming in today.
Well, you know what, Jen, I saw you speak a couple of months ago in Boston with a C3RN event, and I fully admit it, I fell in love.
I love you, Amanda. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
what you guys are doing is such a key piece of what's missing for those of us that are on the front line.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, which is why every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I turn my phone on when I know I shouldn't, and I might lose my job because I do.
Oh.
But it is really important to me that my customers know what they're getting into.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Do you find that a lot of people don't know what they're getting into?
I do. I would like to have serious conversations with Facebook threads, Reddit threads, Instagram threads, Snapchat, they, them, and all these people's friends.
So you think the social media is the best way to get the education out from you guys that are Massachusetts frontline folks?
Well, you know, I can only tell you what happens in my shop and what I've seen in other shops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, since I took over leadership of my shop,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been very passionate about people being educated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially about this stuff because, you know, let's face it, mean people suck and there are a lot of mean people out there.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
You know, like my customer with the cartridge that turned out to be DMT, they came to me because they bought something at another smoke shop and
Mm-hmm.
they've got a free gift with purchase, which is the loophole in the law in Massachusetts.
Yep.
So wait,
and
how did you guys determine it's DMT? I'm so curious. I can't contain myself.
I looked at the cartridge and I function tested it on a battery because when you have a battery that has a preheat cycle, you can function test it to see if it's making the electrical connection.
Yep.
Interesting.
Nobody has to hit it.
Right.
But it didn't smell right to me.
Interesting.
And the color was definitely not right.
Mm-hmm.
And the viscosity was completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. So the stickiness, how it kind of flowed was off from a cannabis
color
oil.
was off.
And
It
the
looked
color
like
was
what
off.
you-
What was the color like? That's fascinating.
It looked like, to me, it looked like what you spit out when you chew tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I
God.
definitely don't want to
Mhm.
put that in my body. So-
No. And
Wow.
I said, I handed them because I go to a lot of cannabis conferences and a lot of cannabis trade shows,
Yeah.
so that my customers don't yell at me and that I can educate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of moments like with batteries and cartridges where we go back to 6th grade science where they made you light the light bulb up with a potato.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So what happened? You recognize? I want to go back to the story. Sorry.
I
This is
recognized it as not being what I would put in my own body.
Yeah.
And I handed them a business card for a third-party testing lab that you can, in Framingham, that you can literally walk in their door
Yeah.
and say, I would like to have this tested.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to pay through the wazoo for it, but in this case, it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they came back to me 2 days later and said, I'm so glad that you encouraged me to do this. And they showed me the third-party lab results, and I looked at it, and with what I saw in there, I was like, well, that's definitely not cannabis.
Oh my
Mm.
God.
Yeah.
And, you know, then there was a note on it from the person who tested it saying, do not consume this. This is DMT.
Wow.
And you know what dispensary it came from?
Or was it from a
It did
shop?
not come out of a dispensary.
Mm.
Okay. There is a loophole
Mm-hmm.
in the laws in Massachusetts when it comes to cannabis. It is not illegal to gift cannabis in the state of Massachusetts.
So where did they
Oh,
get
yeah,
this product then?
I've heard of this
So
before.
you can
yeah.
walk into smoke shops, and
Oh.
some of them have what's called a gifting program.
Oh my
It's a
God.
$50 T-shirt. They did the same thing
Right.
in DC for a while, where you
Right.
could
But
gift
now they're
And
cannabis.
for a while, it was up on Craigslist where you could buy a brown paper bag for $50 and you'd have a gift in it.
Or the
Mm.
glass
I've actually-
jar.
Oh
I've actually had people walk into my store and say, I have my brown paper bag. Where's my gift?
Right.
Wow.
I look at him and say, well, you're SOL, buddy. I don't gift.
Right.
Oh my God.
So let me ask you this, Amanda. With the shops that have opened in the past year, would you consider yourself in terms of being on the front line of safety and knowledge and being able to share that with your customers? Are you a rarity?
I am a rarity.
You are.
Yep.
So if you went out to the Cape and those 2 dispensaries that opened out on Cape Cod, we won't mention them, but are they on the front line of knowledge and able to serve their customers the same way, or?
I have not been able to go down to those to the dispensaries on the South Shore yet.
Yeah.
I have gone to others that are closer to the Boston area.
Okay.
And I can tell you, like in Leicester, I had one of the greatest dispensary experiences I've ever had.
In where?
Leicester.
Okay. Yep.
You know, Amanda,
the
he's
first-
asking. Amanda, he's asking for a friend. you
Yeah.
know?
Just for a friend.
Just for a friend.
Right.
Frequents the
Well, when
area.
you're in town, honey, you got
All
a
right.
friend.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
well,
Hey.
we've got a trip planned this
Yeah.
summer to the Cape.
Yep.
But my shop is also a little bit different than most traditional smoke shops because it's not just a smoke shop. We also sell adult novelty toys. So this is where
Go
my
on.
This is where my 30 years of being a stoner and a pervert have finally paid off.
A sturvert is what you call it.
Sturber.
A stone pervert.
What the hell? Ignore him, Amanda.
So did you have some like fun gift baskets for like Easter and stuff like that? Like, I mean, it sounds.
Well,
We kind of got screwed this year on 420 because it was also Easter and Passover.
I
So
know.
everybody was on their best behavior.
Mm.
That does.
and I will-
really?
I will say that 420 is a little bit quieter in Boston in the past couple of years because there's nobody out there with a bullhorn and beating on drums and air horns protesting, why can't we make cannabis legal?
Yeah.
Are you serious? So there's no. Okay.
I mean, maybe there's a
disappointing.
small rally. You know, I think they should just add a statue for hemp or cannabis. I mean, the statue for the discovery of anesthesia is in Boston, so I think right next to it
Good
should
idea.
be maybe a hemp
And we know
statue.
what the Chinese word
Yeah.
I would love that.
cannabis is.
But that's fascinating because, you know, around the country there were a lot of, you know, festivals and outdoor
Yeah.
bashes
I know I
leading
had a
up
good
to
420.
and during 420. Wow.
Yeah, we considered it the holiday weekend. It was
So-
like a trifecta holiday.
Were you all
No,
right?
it was a great
It's a
holiday. I
trinity.
mean, trust me, we got 420 on here, but
Right.
Yeah.
plus
no.
I've been making edibles like a fiend for my boyfriend who just had surgery. So
Oh, that's the best. One of the best recoveries is edibles for surgery.
yes, well, he is now in love with potato gratin because of this.
Ooh, that sounds
Wait,
good.
you make like full-on chef meals?
I was a professional chef for 11 years, Jen.
Amanda's
Oh,
nothing
wait.
to play with.
I know.
She's
We need
big
Amanda
time,
here.
dude.
We need
I mean,
Amanda here. If you're ever in New York, Amanda, you've got a seat here, and we would love to have you on.
Or send us a recipe. We'll try to make it on air.
Why don't
There
I
it
just
is.
send y'all a resume?
Yeah. There it is.
Resume. I
You
love
got
it.
it.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's.
I mean,
great.
my mother makes the joke that I'm what happens when MacGyver and Martha Stewart have a love child.
Ah,
And Snoop Dogg's a stepdad.
that's a show right there. I like that. Nice.
I love those MacGruber episodes.
Yeah.
What's that, MacGruber?
Um,
Sorry.
We are running out of hemp
Yes, we
time,
are.
but
Thank you,
Amanda,
Amanda.
yes, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
story. I
Wow.
think what you have there is potentially a scientific publication. Researchers have published less data than what you've described with finding DMT in a marijuana
That
vape
is,
pen.
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
thank you, though, for being on the front
Jayon,
lines.
if I have to tell one more customer that there is over 164 chemical components in this plant, THC and CBD are just two, get a grip.
There it is.
I have a feeling you're going to have to tell it to about
whole
200 million
Get
more
used to it.
adults.
Or just
All right,
refer
well,
them to New
yeah.
Hemp Times. How
There it
about
is.
that? Just maybe we'll give you our card and you can
Right.
just be like, just listen, you'll learn. I'm
Send
tired of
me
saying this.
any marketing materials you people have, because when you were playing live in the store, people are like, "What's that?" And I was like, "These are real scientists."
You don't mess with Dr. J.
no, you don't. No, you don't.
Oh.
But have a great week,
Thank
guys.
you,
Good.
Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Keep
you
up
have
the
a
good
great one.
work.
Keep up the work, man. Wow, that was great.
Yeah.
Love having her on.
So surprising that even in this day and age, we talked about it on the show today with the fake vape pens sneaking
Yeah.
their way in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, why not just, if someone's going to give me a pen that had something other than cannabis in it, I would want big block letters, warning, DMT.
I know.
Or like,
I
hey,
just think
yeah.
of like all the kids then who are doing that because they can.
It's
my
not going to
God,
be good.
This is not good, people. All right.
Well, it's time for our closing segment.
Yes.
If you have something for Mind Munchies, this is where we leave you with something to chew on, something to think about.
Okay.
And
I got one.
You got one, Jan?
I don't know what the fuck I'm going to say, but here's what I'm thinking about. Is that maybe we use this week, well, we know we're going to be away from the show because we're
Right.
not going to be recording next week. So maybe the next 2 weeks, if our listeners, when they imbibe their favorite herb, let it speak to you. Listen to it from a spiritual perspective and see if it kind of helps you gain some insight. So grow.
I like
use
that.
Use this plant to grow.
I like
Don't
that.
stay stuck. Grow.
I
See
like
where it
that.
takes you.
I like that too. That was similar to what I was going to say.
Oh my
And I
God.
actually saw a quote this week from a Nobel Prize winner. He said, "Cannabis is a world of mystery." And I really
Oh.
like that because
Oh, it is.
cannabis is a mystery, but it also intersects with almost everything, every industry, every scientific discipline, the law, political science. So it can be a way for you to learn
Yeah.
about other things and how it applies and how it affects us. Because some of the most interesting legal cases are about hemp and cannabis and commerce, crossing state lines and things like that, as well
Yeah.
as crossing boundaries of science, biology,
Yep.
and other disciplines as well. So cannabis is a world of mystery. There's still plenty to learn from it and from studying it.
Do you have anything, Randy?
So I have a little challenge for our growing community. Why don't you reach out to a friend, somebody who's on the 420 side who supports you, and somebody who maybe doesn't support or wants to find out a little bit more about what you've been so passionate about? Have them listen, and let's grow this community a little bit. I think it's important that we start having some voices and who are slightly pessimistic that need to be acclimated to this side.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's in our family, it's our friends or whatever. So we could grow this thing, educate folks, and share stories.
And maybe what we can do too, because maybe we can use our IRCCMH's phone number and give it to people so that
Bingo.
they can call that number on Wednesdays from 4 to 6. Of course, not
Good idea.
next Wednesday, because next Wednesday we're not here. But the following, in 2 weeks, we'll post it on the New Hemp Times Facebook page. And that way people can call in with questions when we start to take that. Because this is important that we learn from each other and grow.
That's right.
Together and have conversations that normally we wouldn't have. So I love that, Randy. I think that's a great challenge for our listeners and for them to, to get people who aren't so excited about this.
I think so. Yeah, you have to talk about the good and the bad, and we can take it further than it's ever gone.
That's
right. Yeah. So before we sign off, I do want to kind of, again, do that little sad PBS pull. But if you like our show, we are here. I just signed another contract to continue this podcast.
Woo-hoo!
So we would love to have the supporters out there so that this is a labor of love, with Greer, Jahan, Randy, and myself. So if you're interested in supporting us, please do so by going to www.patreon.com/newhemptimes. We have many different levels of support, and we really appreciate the patronage and need it to continue. So thank you so much. We want to spread the word. All right. So
all right, thank you.
we done, guys?
Yeah, see you
All
in
right.
2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Happy spring break, people.
Yeah.
Bye.